Hi everybody, this is Dan. Time for this week's KFIR Middle East update, the week of February 10th. As usual, we encourage you all to go to our website, holygroundexplorations.com, and access the PDF PowerPoint because pictures, always more material, etc. to go along with the YouTube link. Just go to that site, click the blog button, all the information's there, okay? Free, so check it out. Headlines for this week. Obama spoke at that Baltimore mosque, and we'll comment on a few things there, but one of his comments was that he said, quote, "An attack on one faith is an attack on all of our faiths." And then he went on to criticize the media in Hollywood because he said, whenever you see a Muslim on TV these days, it always has to do with national security. I sit there and I think to myself, I wonder why, right? And anyhow, so he's saying our television show should have Muslim characters that are unrelated to that. Okay, well, we'll wait and see how that goes. The Indiana House of Representatives, last week we talked about the BDS, the boycott, divestment, and the sanction movement, and they came out in opposition to that. In fact, they've taken a strong stance to say that the state of Indiana will not invest in any companies that plan to divest against Israel. So kudos to the state of Indiana. And then we talked about social media. Twitter this week pulled the plug on 125,000 accounts that were found to feature materials supporting the Islamic State. Let me say that again, 125,000 accounts. And then our thanks to our friends at the Palestinian Media Watch, they released this. That's on the Hamas Facebook page, right? And it's a music video. And again, calling for, inciting the people for suicide bombings once again on public transit system buses in Israel. The chorus basically talks about, the intifada is not a true intifada until the bus roofs fly off. And so, once again, the incitement that takes place on social media. And then, of course, when we think about Hamas, Iran's just basically come out to say, we still are funding Hamas because fighting Israel is our policy. Pretty clear to me. Prime Minister Netanyahu is a bit concerned with Obama. The last months of Obama's administration, he's concerned that there will be a swing that's detrimental to Israel, especially in regards to the UN Security Council decisions. So let's stay alert and updated about that. Sort of the quote of the week comes from a former CNN Jerusalem bureau, Izzy Limburg. He goes on, he says, the world recoils in horror at the crimes of ISIS and radical Islamist idolatry that's exported from Syria to Europe. But when it comes to Islamists butchering Jews, the UN Secretary General basically comes out and he makes excuses for this murder. His words, it's human nature to react to this type of occupation. Unbelievable. But it's true. The world remained silent. The blame is given to the Israelis that they're being stabbed. The rise of anti-Semitism is continuing in our day. Obama should know better. This is excerpts from his speech last week. He goes in his quote, "For more than 1,000 years, people have been drawn to Islam's message of peace. The very word itself, Islam, comes from salam, meaning peace. No, That is not true. How can a person in a position of responsibility say something that's so blatantly wrong? Islam means submission. It's not a derivative of salam, a word for peace. There's no connection in the meaning between salam and Islam. These are two distinct words with unrelated meanings. I think he does know. A Torah scroll was burned in Judea, and we've got photos of this. It was in a settlement that was named, in a synagogue that was named after the three teenage boys that were kidnapped in June of 2014, Naphtali, Gilad, and Eyal. And the scrolls were gathered together in a makeshift synagogue that was there, and they were burned. And of course, there's been no international leaders that have yet to condemn the incident. The only question that I have is that, can you imagine the outrage if the shoe was on the other foot? If instead of Torah scrolls, and remember they're handwritten, instead of Torah scrolls being burned, it was the Quran? Do you think, if that was the case, that international leaders would be silent? I don't think so. CBS come under fire and concerned of bounced reporting. Make sure you get that PDF, as I mentioned, screenshot here from CBS News. The headline says 3 Palestinians killed as daily violence grinds on. That's the headlines. What's not mentioned is that the reason these 3 Palestinians were killed is because they had just killed one police officer and they were in the midst of stabbing others. So it was in reaction to what they were doing, but that's not the headlines. Again, the media itself is slanted. The rise of anti-Semitism continues in our day. John Kasich, I love this. I wanted to include it because I entitled it, "Is it too simple? Is this too simple?" It's got to do with the two-state solution. And he says, Israel's given back a lot of stuff. They gave Gaza back. How's that working out for them? They have everything launching into Israel. I don't know how you get a two-state solution when people are walking into your country and stabbing people. He says, I'll say this. Recognize the state of Israel, guarantee their permanent security, stop launching Katyusha rockets into Israel, stop sending people into Israel that went from rocks to knives, stop ramming your cars into train stations. If you knock all that off, then maybe you might find someone who really thinks there's a possibility of a two-state solution. Well said, John Kasich. Well said. Well, last up, something to pray for. I wanted to kind of hit on a positive note as we leave. We've talked a lot about the problems with brainwashing the youth, and especially young Palestinians. It's a hopeless situation that they're in. And when they're taught from birth to hate and that there's no escaping really the poverty that this world has in store for their lives or whatever, the way out is to be a shihad, a martyr. It's no surprise that there's no shortage of suicide bombers or those that would take knives in their hands. And so on a positive note, in East Jerusalem, the schools there have been taking extra measures in recent weeks to stop the next child terrorist amid a wave of violent stabbings that are coming now primarily from teenagers. The students in East Jerusalem are being influenced through social media, and they're acting purely on their emotions. And so because of that, this is a name to remember, Laura Mubarak. She's the head of the education department for Arab students in East Jerusalem. And she's bringing in religious leaders from the north to talk about coexistence and tolerance and the value of life. Since, again, over the past few months, not only are there the people that are being stabbed, not only are they being killed, but of course, those that are the terrorists are being killed as well. And so there's a movement to try to to educate the youth that there's a better way to achieve a better life. And so, again, let's keep this in our prayers. So that's this week's Middle East update from KFIR. Again, our website is holygroundexplorations.com. Go there, click the blog button, get the PDF, share this with your friends. Let's make sure that we understand the times that we're living. Like the sons of Issachar, understanding the times and knowing what we should be doing about it. The first step is to become educated. So with that, God bless you and shalom.